Hi, I'm Maria, and I'm 20 years old. Do you have a goal in life? Are you willing to take a big risk to achieve it? Are you prepared to deal with the consequences if your bet doesn't play? Watch the video to the end and find out how I literally lost my face in the pursuit of the role of my dreams. Once I came across an announcement of casting. They were looking for actresses for a video about social adaptation, a supporting role, but everybody starts somewhere. I was determined, even though I saw the ad at the last moment. After all, there was only one requirement. By selection day, everyone had to be tan as if they were born and raised in Miami. Of course, I ran to a tanning salon. I was pale and I didn't like beaches. I should have fixed it in record time. It was a matter of hours, not even days. There was a high probability that after a single session, the tan would not show much, and to strengthen it, I had to take additional measures. I bought a sunscreen with formic acid and smeared almost the entire tube. The instructor strongly recommended to undergo several sessions for a uniform and gradual tan, but that was out of the question. The casting was still a few hours away. Then I was convinced that with light and sensitive skin, to achieve a strong tan at a time could be simply dangerous. I was a little scared, to be honest, because my skin was really very sensitive and I burnt instantly in the sun. My hands were already starting to peel off from the dryer. But I was not going to back down. The dream was higher than all these circumstances, so I had to look haughty. I was an actress after all, and say that I knew better what my skin type was and what to do with it. They believed me, but the argument took up a lot of time, which was not enough. Have you ever felt that every breath brings you closer to being late? I went to the casting straight from the tanning salon, glancing at my watch every now and then. Of course, the taxi was stuck in a terrible traffic jam just when I needed to hurry. As if it wasn't enough, it was too hot. If I hadn't been in such a hurry, I could have been grilled without the tanning salon. There was nothing to breathe, especially in the car. And then, either from dryness or from nerves, my whole body began to itch terribly. At first, I thought that the sunscreen with formic acid gave such a reaction and I just needed to endure the itch, but it only got worse. In the end, I couldn't stand it and scratched my face. Suddenly, I felt something strange under my nails. I looked closely and realized that it was my skin. The skin was in huge chunks under the nails. At the same time, there were dark stains on my hand. I took out a mirror and almost turned gray with horror. I looked like a Dalmatian. So much for casting. Who will need me with such a face? Thank God I had my makeup bag with me. I feverishly covered the white spots on my face with tonic, but the traffic jam still did not move. Then my friend Kate called from the casting and said that everything was about to start and I needed to hurry. A feeling of despair covered my head. I had no choice but to get out of the taxi with a skinned cheek, rent a bicycle, and rush as fast as possible to the production set, towards my dream. I couldn't miss this chance no matter what. I managed to arrive, but the casting was already over and everyone was going home. Suddenly, a director came up to me and asked what was wrong with my face. I explained through tears and asked them to give me one chance. I didn't suffer for nothing. And he started laughing. All the supporting roles were already taken, no chance. And then he suddenly suggested that I try out for the lead role. Like, I had skin problems now, and according to the script, the heroine had such troubles with her face that she wore a cardboard mask. I had never heard such a rude joke in my life. Just a little more, and he would offer to put a package on my head. In the evening, Kate called. She didn't pass the casting either, but my condition was worse. I burst into tears and told her everything. How my skin peeled off, how my face hurt, that I didn't know when I would find a new role, and that the director also made fun of me. My friend listened to me and told me not to fool around but to go to the casting. Unlike me, she managed to read the script. The director told me the truth. She recounted everything she had learned about the main character. A horror movie, not a story. I was afraid that I might also have a serious illness. What if I become disabled? What if it never goes away and I'm no longer an actress? After saying goodbye to my friend, I dragged myself to the bathroom to clean up. A mangy monster stared back at me from the mirror. He didn't have a face, only colored streaks, scraps of skin, and bloody scratches. It itched very much. It was much worse than in the morning, and so fast. I was no longer upset. I was terrified. Screw casting. I hurried to the doctor. Have you ever felt that all your problems are forgotten because something even worse has happened? This was the case. I was so scared that I didn't think about how people looked at me in the street and forgot about the morning's failure. The doctor calmed me down. There was no accident, but I literally burned my skin and had to be treated for a very long time. I was given a long list of recipes and forbidden to touch my face. It still burned, and after applying the ointments, it got even worse. I was going to go mad before this went away. Trying to distract myself, I pulled out cardboard and paint. Art heals the soul, right? I wondered what I would do about it and remembered the director's words. I cut out the mask, laughing hysterically. Kate, in response to a selfie sent, advised me to go to the next casting. It was a joke, of course, but then I wondered if I wanted to go at all. On one hand, it was a chance to get the main role. On the other hand, I myself was disgusted to look in the mirror, and here on the camera, I would burn with shame. I googled photos of people with skin diseases. To say that I was shocked was to say nothing. If I was in so much pain that I could barely distract myself, how did they feel? They always lived like this. I was afraid people would point fingers at me, but I would forget it in a month, and they lived with it. Someone from childhood, or how did they go to school? Children can be so mean. Then I realized I wanted to be in this video. Such stories needed to be told, and since I had been called, I would try to participate in it. I actually came to the casting in a cardboard mask. People did look at me and laugh, but not because I was a freak. It was much easier that way. Maybe the heroine of the film felt the same way and wore the stupid mask to control the situation. Of course, the mask had to be removed during the tests. The director was in shock. Yesterday, everything was not so bad. I gave it my all and got the part. I really wanted to think that not only because of the face, but also because of the effort. I was quite happy with myself. And then I heard the director joking with the makeup artists about the fact that they didn't need to do the Dalmatian makeup. Less work for everyone. What a scoundrel! I felt like a leper again. I decided to go to the boiler to drink water and calm down a little. I tried to think of my heroine. She lived with such humorists all her life. She was proud and brave. I could do that too. At the boiler, I ran into a girl in a wide-brimmed hat. I hit that hat and it slid to the side, revealing my face. What I saw looked like a mirror. Not the face itself, but its condition. In fact, her skin was much worse than mine, and I didn't really want to look at it anymore. But she couldn't look away. Was it makeup or something? In fact, it was Lucy, the real prototype of the story. She agreed to participate in the shooting to make sure that her illness was described correctly. She had already been told about me and my successful problem, and she wanted to get acquainted. I just nodded back, still staring like a fool. Fortunately, she didn't take offense. We talked for a long time, and Lucy was very supportive. And suddenly, she said that it was harder for me now. She was used to being herself, but I was afraid of both her face and my own. I had a lot to think about. I walked home with a mask, and people watched me go. As I passed the shop windows, I noticed a wide-brimmed hat on the mannequin, almost identical to Lucy's. And of course, I bought it, not to get into the role, but to take an example from her. The shooting was successful, and I learned to ignore the director's tactlessness. My skin had healed just in time for the video release, and I was watching it, already getting used to my healthy face again, and I saw not myself on the screen, but Lucy. I still continue to wear a hat. I feel more confident in it, and it also saves my skin from the sun after that experiment. Did you like my story? Then put likes and subscribe to the channel. And to avoid missing new episodes, click the bell icon. I wish you strength and health. Value yourself. no matter what others do.
Sick? Seriously? I'm sorry, but you have a month or two to live. The doctor continued. Then I started to feel dizzy. The doctor said that I have a severe disease and most often it's transmitted sexually. What if... I stormed out of the room in rage. So I got this piece of trash from my ex-girlfriend? What a stinker! I've been loyal to Susie, and she seems to have been unfaithful to me. With shaking hands, I dialed her number on my cell phone. You broke my life, I shouted. How could you not tell me? Susie said that my suspicions were correct and she had no regrets. You were selfish, so you deserved it, she added, and then hung up. I almost threw the freaking phone at the wall. Screw it, I'm going to get drunk and go to Pete's to celebrate the beginning of my end. Pete is my best friend, but we are different. We both wanted to be actors, but only he managed to survive the finals and I was expelled. Now he's in the theater, and I don't really have a hobby. Pete was glad I came. He likes when we watch stand-up nights together. But this time I had too much and started talking about the illness and Susie. All women are the same, I said. And anyway, if Susie did this to me, why can't I do this to others? Then Peter said I was talking drunken nonsense and that I can't do that. Well, he doesn't understand anything. Besides, he's healthy and successful. We ended up having a fight and Pete blurted out that I'm not his friend anymore. Well, screw you! I went home and immediately passed out. In the morning, the thought of revenge didn't disappear. Well, there's nothing I could do about Susie, but how many other stinkers, right? I will take my revenge on them all. I cleaned myself up and went looking for a victim. You see, I chose a bar for this purpose as it was always full of dissolute girls. That's where I met Susie, by the way. All the girls in the bar, as luck would have it, broke up in pairs. But then I noticed a lone girl behind the counter. She looked just like Susie. After finishing her drink, the girl went to the dance floor and I followed her. I'm Emmett! And you! I shouted, trying to drown out the music. Goodbye, she said, and went to the door. Well, how easy it is to turn someone down when you have your life ahead of you, right? But I won't give up so easily. I snuck outside after her and started following her. We had already walked a block when I hit a tin can. The girl flinched and quickly turned to me. Who's there? Oh, it's you. Are you following me? She frowned. I had to lie that I just wanted to make sure she was safe. Of course. She's happy to see me. She's just hiking up her price, I thought. I offered to go for a walk and to my surprise, she agreed. Yep, I definitely wasn't wrong about her. Along our way, I showed Debbie, that was her name, local stand-up artist performances. Debbie was laughing. She obviously liked me. It's getting cold. Maybe we can continue the date? At my place, perhaps? I suggested. Well, this is where I screwed up. Debbie called me a pervert and then left. What is she, some kind of special? I don't have the time for these games. I might die tomorrow. I caught up with her and joked about it, saying that Debbie could choose her own place for the next date. And suddenly, she called me to the library. Wow! The next day we met there and Debbie gave me a whole literature class. She clearly wanted me to think she was a big brain, but you can't fool me like that. While she was reading, I started hugging her, but Debbie pulled away. You have to be patient, she said. Heck, okay, baby, I will. But I still will bring the matter to an end. When you're walking dead, there's nothing else to lose. The next night, I took Debbie to a nightclub. This is a place where I should have been able to do it. But this time around, she refused both cocktails and dancing. She said that the music was very loud. I didn't like the place either, although Susie loved it. In the end, it didn't work out again. Debbie wanted to go home, so I went to see her off. But what if I still have a chance? We went through the park, and by the pond, Debbie suddenly yelled, "Look! There was a dragonfly sitting on a water lily, and so what? Well, except that even this stupid insect will live longer than I do." But Debbie was happy. She said that dragonflies are her hobby. She kept telling me how much she admired them. They are so hard to catch, almost like true love. She sadly smiled. Debbie admitted that she doesn't usually hang out in bars, and when we met, she went to get drunk because of her ex-boyfriend who cheated on her after 5 years of their relationship. and then I felt uneasy. Deb doesn't seem to be as frivolous as I thought she was. We were saying goodbye at her house when suddenly Debbie looked up and moved closer. She was going to kiss me. I jumped back like I was called it. Debbie didn't understand anything and I just ran away. The next day I called her and tried to justify myself. You know, it was wet in the park. I think I caught a cold. I didn't want to infect you. All she said was that I was very caring. I stayed at home until evening, feeling like a complete scoundrel. Then, suddenly, Debbie showed up. She brought me oranges and throat lozenges, but her attention only made me feel worse. I said I was sleepy and asked her to leave. But Deb kept texting me. I had to answer, even though I was burning with shame. She didn't even know how I lied to her all the time. I felt bad. Debbie suddenly stopped responding. I couldn't get in touch with her for a few days and then all of a sudden she picked up the phone. Deb said she had a cold too and then asked me to bring her medicine. I suddenly got mad. I was about to die. Why should I babysit her? My thirst for revenge seized me again and then I went to Deb's. The door was open and I went inside. Why does it smell so? I went into the living room for a fragrance and saw Deb wearing a makeup and a tight dress. There was a candlelit dinner on the table, and Debbie offered to stay with her. Heck, I went numb. Deb, I can't. Don't ask me why, I said. Debbie was taken aback and sat down. You don't like me anymore? She asked. I didn't know what to say and ran out of her apartment. I just hated myself. After that, I really felt awful. I couldn't leave my bed. I think I'm dying. I need help. And then I remembered Pete. He's my best friend. How could I lose him? He was right. I shouldn't have started this. From day to day, I was getting worse. Even breathing was hard. I decided to make up with Pete one last time. I called him, and he came right away. Surprisingly, Pete forgave me. I must have looked pathetic. He listened to my story and agreed to fulfill my last request, to tell Debbie the whole truth about the illness and tell her I apologize for that. I really couldn't do it myself. And don't dare to tell her where I am, not even on pain of death. Pete agreed, and I was relieved that Debbie would be safe. The next day I got really sick and went to the hospital. I was undergoing an examination when suddenly, Pete actually told her where I was. How did you talk to him into it? I asked Deb. I said I love you, you fool. She replied and hugged me. I didn't want her to see me like this. With a heartache, I asked her to leave me. I saw how hard it was for Debbie too, but she pulled herself together and then left. Finally, the examination was over, and the doctor came to my room with the results. I was preparing for the worst, but the doctor said that the last test was wrong. The lab mixed up the tests and I don't have an infection. But I was almost dying. The doctor said that I might have been nervous. It was due to the effect of autosuggestion. God, I'm healthy. I felt like I was given another chance. I had to go to Debbie's and tell her everything. I ran out of the room, elated, and there suddenly ran into Susie. She had a round belly. What does it all mean? This time Susie explained everything to me. At the time we were dating, she found a great guy and left me for him, and now she's gonna have a baby. What about your diagnosis? I asked. She didn't know what I was talking about. She said that when I called, she thought I was accusing her of cheating. What a fool I was. Screw it. I ran to Debbie's and told her I was well. We can be together, but will she ever forgive me? I hopefully waited for her answer. Finally, she softly said, we can make a new dinner together. I'd love to, I said, almost crying. Debbie smiled and I kissed her. Yesterday I was a walking dead who wanted to drag everyone down with him, and today I have a new life. And all of these thanks to love.